It's your man Jay Graves Report, and welcome to The Truth is in the Details. Now, every now and then I have to do one of these, boys, because I get sick and tired of hearing guys on the radio, seeing cats on TV that have jobs that are supposed to be what we call experts at what they do, and they don't know nothing. All right? I'm going nuts about this whole college football playoff and all the thinking and logic that goes into these nonsense guys, idiots, media types that suppose to know more than the average fan, but don't. Now, yesterday, I was watching something on Fox. They had a round table of all the cats that work in sports for Fox, that handle college football, or even all the sports for that matter. And Duns were coming up with all kind of crazy, idiotic logic as to why certain teams are in or out. It's simple, dude. When we put together the college football playoff 2 years ago, boys said that we have to have teams that are in Power 5 conferences. The Power 5 conferences, for y'all that don't understand what Power 5 is, that's the SEC, the Big 10, Pac-12, Big 12, ACC. Those are the 5 conferences we're talking about. The reason that they started putting together, they called that you have to be in the Power 5 is to keep Duns like Boise State out. Remember a few years ago when Boise State got to be ranked number 2 or ranked number 1 at one point because they were undefeated? They wasn't playing anybody, bro. They were in the Mountain West. They were in the WAC conference at one point. So they weren't playing anybody. They were playing scrub teams, and then they play one team on national TV, and everybody think that Boise State's supposed to be playing for the national championship when they playing against Nevada, Reno, and all these kind of teams. You have to play in a Power 5. So now, if Clemson, Iowa, Oklahoma, and Alabama playing in Power 5s and they undefeated or one loss, etc., that's what counts. For example, boys are trying to tell you that Iowa shouldn't be in the top 4 because Iowa hadn't played anybody. Now, they're in the Power 5. They're in the Big 10. So they played everybody that Ohio State is going to have to play. If they end up winning the Big 10, then they've done what they were supposed to do. They fulfilled the requirement. Don't tell me that Iowa plays on the weaker side of the Big 10, therefore they shouldn't have an opportunity to play for a national championship. That makes no sense because just like Alabama and Clemson, etc., none of those teams outside of the Big 12, everybody plays in a conference that has a conference championship. In those conferences that have conference championship, everybody in the conference doesn't play at each other. So, therefore, you're going to have Alabama only plays everybody on the West. They don't play everybody on the East. So, therefore, there are teams that they don't play. The guys are trying to tell you that Iowa doesn't play Michigan, Ohio State, Michigan State, etc. That's fine, but they're going to end up having to play one of those teams in the Big 10 championship. The same knucklehead, and I'm not going to say his name, the same knucklehead that tried to tell boys that Iowa didn't play everybody on the other side, they didn't play all the good teams, will turn around and tell you that, well, the Big 12 doesn't play a conference championship. Well, the Big 12 doesn't play a conference championship because everybody in the conference plays one another. So now, which one do you want? Do you want boys to play a conference championship game and not play everybody? Or do you want them to play a round robin where they play everybody? You can't have it both ways. Stop trying to justify why you don't want Iowa in. It's going to take care of itself, Playboy, because in my opinion, Iowa is going to get the brakes beat off of them against Michigan State in the Big 10 championship, and it's going to take care of itself. So why are we wrestling? But today, Iowa deserves to be the number 2 team in the country because they're undefeated. That's all I'm trying to get you to understand. Then the other argument is, well, Clemson is 11-0 right at this point. They in the ACC, but think about it. North Carolina is in the ACC. They 10-1. They get ready to play Clemson in the championship for the ACC. Now, what happens if Clemson loses to North Carolina? What you going to do with North Carolina? That's all I'm saying, because North Carolina would have fulfilled the requirement of playing in the ACC, winning the ACC championship, and beating the number one team in the country. And at the end of the day, they would have the same record, 11-1, if they were to beat Clemson. Then what do you do with them? Stop trying to put your personal biases in front of these teams and telling me that boys don't deserve to play when the record says that they should. You know, another thing a lot of these media types do, they'll go in and tell you, well, I'm not looking at who's the most deserving team. I'm looking at who is the best team. Well, if we're looking at who's the best team, then why are we keeping score? Why are we playing the games? And why we got wins and losses recorded? Because if we're just looking at the eyeball test to see who's the best team, then we should have just shown up at spring football, watched everybody play, picked 4 teams, and then played the national championship in May. You gotta, if you're gonna put the criteria down, if you're gonna say this is what it's gotta be, then you gotta follow it. I could give 2 rips who plays for the national championship. All I'm saying is stop telling boys, and you got millions of people listening to your radio shows, watching television, and then you say something idiotic and stupid and that doesn't make any sense, that completely flies in the wind of all the criteria that was put forth to put this thing together, and then now you got all these knuckleheads running around repeating what you're saying. It doesn't make sense. So my thing is, if you're going to have this job, then do your job. You know, you can't expect, folks that have jobs in the real world are expected to know do their research, do their homework, know their information, and then sit in front of clients and give the information, the right information. Don't just start making stuff up because you feel like it. Iowa deserves to be number 2 in the country because they play in a Power 5 and they're undefeated today. If they get beat this weekend, then it is what it is. But this is your man, Jay Graves Report, from TheJayGravesReport.com, or you can hit me up on Twitter at JayGravesReport so you can holler at your boy.